Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to know what your content personality is. And there are 5 of them. Now, this is new to me, so I am so excited to learn exactly what content personalities are and which one am I? Which one are you? So I want to welcome our guest today. We have Amy Hager here with Joyful Business Revolution. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Amy, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. Excited to talk about the 5 content personality types. And you just took the quiz, so we know which one you are. So I can't wait
I
to
know.
uncover it.
And I'll share that later. I'll share that towards the end what mine is. Well, maybe in the middle. Who knows what I'm going to share, but I will share it. I will share it. I promise. I did just take it. But I want to find out more about this. Before we dig into this, tell me a little bit about you. What exactly do you do?
So I'm the organic marketing mentor over at the Joyful Business Revolution, where we really help coaches, consultants, service-based business owners, and entrepreneurs who are wanting to find more joy in their marketing. And we really uncover what your unique marketing strategy is. And we want to make sure that it's oozing with integrity as well. And because joy is in our name, you have to enjoy your marketing. And I always talk about, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm bad at it. I don't enjoy it. So I outsource it. Let me tell you, you are your best marketer. So don't give that power away to anybody. You just need to find the best way for you to market and communicate. And so hopefully by us uncovering your content personality type today, hopefully that will lead you to maybe a little bit different way of thinking about how to market your business.
I love hearing that. Now, you may not realize this, and some of the listeners may not realize this is the Entrepreneur Society podcast, but I also have a business, which is a digital marketing agency. It's a boutique agency. It's called Carbon Silk. So I'm creating social media for clients, creating website design. And this might sound weird. I agree with you. They are their best marketer.
Yeah.
I mean, now my job, right, is to know your brand voice, to take some of that off of you. But honestly, like, you have all the tools. And yeah, I'm not trying to like cut my own throat with my business, but I agree with you. I am a digital marketing company, and I'm saying I agree. You are your best.
And I think what is important about when you're hiring a digital marketing company like yourself to do website and graphics and stuff, it's really hard for you to do that job without them knowing their messaging, their voice, and their tone, and everything along those lines. And so there are times when it's going well and you're working it organically, that's when you can start outsourcing things. But really being in community and conversation to figure out what your messaging is and what really resonates and connects with your ideal audience is so, so important to figure out before you have anybody else help you with your marketing.
It's the first question I ask.
Yeah.
Like, who are you targeting? Who's your ideal client?
Yeah.
What is your brand voice? What do you bring to the table? And I do have a questionnaire for everybody, because it is hard for them to answer when I'm saying first off, a lot of times they're not even sure who they're targeting, because their answer is everybody.
I know.
Like, okay, no, let's have a conversation.
You can't work with anybody if you're trying to talk to everybody.
Right. And then they're not sure, right? So I do have some unique questions to try to uncover, right? It's like you have to trick them. It's like, the kid eating his vegetables. How do you do it? It's like, all right, I can get these. I'll get these out of you. I know how to ask them, but I do want to hear it, because I love the idea of these 5 content personalities. And what personality type are you? Because I do see that as an asset, because it will make life easier. So what exactly are they? What is a content personality type? What does that even mean?
So your content personality type is the best way for you to communicate a message, to enroll somebody into working with you. And so even, let's say, if you're trying to enroll your spouse into an idea that you have, you should be using your content personality type to communicate that idea, because you most energetically show up in alignment by utilizing this type. And a lot of times people think, oh, I'm good at this thing, so this must be my content personality type. And that's not always the case. And so when we're able to uncover which one of the five you are, and you're able to then use it again to enroll people into the vision, into working with you, that's where the secret sauce is. You still may have a passion project that's one of the other types, and that is a-okay. But really, this is talking about how to get someone energetically aligned with you so that you can best show them how you can help them and take them on that journey and that experience with you. So, the five content personality types are in no particular order. Yeah. So, the first one is live in person. Next is video. Third is audio. Fourth is written. And fifth is visual. And so the energy behind each of those. So if you're live in person, you most likely show up best when you're in a face-to-face situation, or like in our situation where we can see each other, we're feeding off of each other's energy. Or even when you're in a room teaching people, you're feeding off their energy, you're energized by it, and you're showing up at your strongest, most ethical way. The video content personality type doesn't need another person in the room to really enroll someone into their vision. Their energy is able to show up without any other human. And it's really interesting. A lot of time, if you're not wanting to do like a talking head video or anything along those lines, video content personality types are also really good usually at like creating meditations, because again, they don't need that human to human energy and interaction to really show up and guide someone through. That's just one example. There's about
Interesting.
30 different ways you can utilize a video content personality type.
Wow.
The third one of audio. So usually an audio content personality type, you can tell when you are on the phone and the other end, that person's voice is so calming and like easygoing, and you feel like you could talk to them all day long. Usually they're an audio content personality type. A written content personality type, I feel like sometimes is the easiest because you write and
Yeah.
you really move people around in a journey with you through the written word. And then visual, there's two components to visual. One, you may be able best to explain to people through visual things, like think infographics, creating Canva graphics, maybe photos, things along those lines. Or you need to be visual in order to communicate something. So if you were the child in elementary school that doodled on the side of your paper and got in trouble with the teachers about it, you might be a video or a visual content personality type. I have a holistic health coach out of Washington State. She's a visual, and she just bought a new house. And so when she was painting all the walls in her new house, I was like, write your blog. And so she had her computer right there and she was writing as she was doing something visually. And it's really, really, it's going to what triggers the most creative, best energy out of you. So the five types are live in person, video, audio, written, and visual. And you are only one. And there's a free quiz for you to take to find out what your content personality type is. So you can just Google it, content personality quiz. The link will be in the show notes, like you said, but don't guess what your content personality type is. When we find some people, like I said, they have a passion maybe for writing, and they could be a very good writer. And actually, the founder of the quiz is my partner, M. Shannon Hernandez. She had written a book. She, like, one of her degrees is in English. She was a teacher. She's a really, really good writer. Do not get me wrong. And she was relying on writing for so long in her business, and it was going okay. And then when she took her own quiz, she used psychology and everything to build this quiz. She scored live in person, and she literally crumpled it up because it was done on a piece of paper back then, not online, and threw that across the room. She's like, I'm an introvert. There's no way I'm alive in person. And so she kept relying on written, and she was at like 250 a year in her business. And finally, when she's like, all right, I'm embracing my live in person, we figured out what it was and what it meant for her. As soon as she did that, within the year, she doubled her business to 400,000. And it
Wow.
literally nothing else changed but how she was delivering her marketing and her messaging and how she was having those conversations.
Interesting. So,
Very crazy.
yes, and I also, as you mentioned earlier, I did take the test,
You
and
did.
I am also a live and in
You did.
person.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, how would I use that? Like,
Yeah.
you're okay. Now that I know, what do I do with it? What does it mean?
Beautiful question. So, there's about there's over 150 ways that you can market your business when you combined all 5 content personality types. And so under live in person, you want to make sure you're doing things like this, where you're doing on-camera interviews, you're interacting with people, you might be hosting workshops. If you did somehow write a book, and there's some hacks as a live in person to write books, but doing book signings, going to networking groups, maybe even going to retreats, but really being in the energy of other people. And when you're talking about the work that you do and about your business, you're able to really connect with them more deeply. A lot of times we say use your live in person, or use your content personality type. Sorry, use your content personality type. Pick a social media platform as your vehicle, plus your email address and or your email list, and that's really all you need to be doing is one social media, your email list, and that's your strategy. And so if you're a video content personality type, the talking head video is good. Like I mentioned, the meditation, sometimes doing street screencasts or slideshows or animations is another way that you could utilize your video content personality type. We actually had a woman who was in the protective witness protection program,
Oh my
and
gosh,
she was
that right
video.
there's a whole episode. That's so cool.
And
I
it
mean,
was
not for her. I mean, a little
right.
weird, but
But when
yeah.
she was video, she looked at us, she didn't look at us because we never saw her face, but she
Yeah.
was like, "Well, how do I do this?" And so, really, the screencast slideshow really worked really well. She recorded her voice on the video, and she actually paid a professional photographer and model and bought, the image rights to this model and used those photos on her website and such. And, a lot of her course modules were also video. So that's how she was delivering some of the content as well. But she never showed her face and never used her real name. Like I said, with the audio content personality type, usually someone who is on the phone, maybe recording an audio book or recording some sort of audio reading. Doing podcasts is another really good one. You can always think about your radio DJs. A lot of times they're going to be the audio content personality type because they could stand in that room by themselves and talk all day and not need to have
Yeah.
another human, right?
Yes.
Your written content personality type, think about case studies or guidebooks or ebooks or assessments, something along those lines. And even when you're doing your sales conversations, if you can keep them in the written format as long as possible and close sales in that written format. We had one woman who's a diet, she's a fertility naturopath out of Texas. And she was doing video and webinars and things like this. And she was just burnt out. And like you could tell physically, she looked burnt out.
Yeah.
And she scored written content personality type. So we took all that down. She now writes long form posts. And I don't read a lot. I read her stuff. It is good and it is
Is it
intriguing.
really?
It's so good,
So
and she's able to close people in Facebook Messenger DMs and emails. She doesn't get on the phone with them to help them enroll to her programs to figure out what is going on with their infertility and hopefully then get pregnant. So it's really, really interesting.
that is so interesting. So which one are you?
I'm live in person, but I want to make sure that I give the visual people.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
So visual, like I said, Canva graphics. If you're old school and using Photoshop, that's fabulous. You may be really great at taking photos and utilizing photos to tell stories and things. Infographics. We even have some who are using card decks who are visual. They may have drawn out something and they're using that. And I actually just got done talking with a woman who is a counselor at a school. And her visual content personality type is sticky notes. She needs the sticky notes to remind her to flow her through a conversation. And that visual reminder, even though she has to be interacting with the child face to face, but that visual reminder really helps her carry on that conversation and keep up her energy. And so,
Interesting.
so it really is about your energetic alignment, finding the best vehicle to really utilize your content personality type, and really letting the rest go. So I'm a live in person content personality type. So being here with you on StreamYard is my
Yeah.
jam. Sitting on Zoom all day, going to networking events, I love it. I'm an extroverted live in person person. My business partner is an introverted live in-person person. So she's not going to networking events. She doesn't talk to strangers, but she hosts, workshops, and she does really, really great one-to-many in intimate groups, and is able to really move people miles and minutes in a live
Yeah.
in-person interaction. And so I'm kind of curious, are you, outside of this interview type that you have here on the podcast, do you think you're using live in-person content personality type to really talk about your business and market your business?
I do.
Mhm.
That's interesting, right? And I'm still kind of processing all of it because
Well, yeah, it's
I
new.
I feel it is very, very new. And as you're talking, I'm like I love photography, right? I love photography. I love images. Uh, I'm I'm not a writer. I can
Mm.
write, but it drains me a little bit
Yeah.
faster. So I wasn't expecting anything there.
Yeah.
But I do know that I love speaking. I do speak at conferences
Yeah.
nationally, and
When you
when
speak,
I am
you end up getting clients from it.
I do. I
There
do
you
get
go.
clients when
That's
I'm
the
on the
key.
stage, and
That is the
I
key.
remember there was something I had to speak at a conference, and it was out of town, and I was packing and stuff, and I'm just like, "Oh, I just don't feel like this, like, I'm not." And my husband was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like,
Doing
"You
business in
love
person.
this stuff, like,
Yeah.
you thrive in this." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." And so when I was leaving, he's like, "Go do the thing you love to do." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And it totally like I'm like, "He's so right." But once I hit the stage, I'm nervous, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I
Oh,
am
nerves are
nervous
nerves. Yeah.
before going on, but then once I start talking, like I'm
Mhm.
in my jam and it's awesome. And there is this energy at the end. But it's like it takes me a minute to come down from this high because I'm like,
Yeah.
that was so freaking awesome. Or if I do have a workshop and after the workshop, like I'm usually there talking to people after, and I feel bad because people are waiting and I just keep, I'm talking and I'm
Yeah.
trying to divide my time, but yes, I'm not totally shocked, but I see pieces of me in a lot of the other ones. So,
Right. And that's
yeah,
what
it
a
was
lot of
interesting.
people say. And so when you think about those other pieces, one, make sure that you're, as long as you enjoy it, I always say go for it. But two, think about how can they be passion projects? How can they maybe in the delivery of your work come into play? But when you're wanting to make sales and create marketing and create that experience, you really want to double down and tap into your content personality type. And so right now, if you're listening and you scored something very different than what you're doing in your marketing, I say take a pause and really evaluate what would be fun for you to do utilizing your content personality type, and go give it a try. And don't try to be the jack of all trades, because a lot of people say, well, oh my gosh, I'm doing all five, I should be doing great. Oh, you're probably burnt out and hating it.
Yeah,
And
right?
I went to journalism school, and this always it made so much more sense once I knew my content personality type, but it also drove me crazy for years. So I went to journalism school. My very first job out of college was at a paper. I loved doing the interviews. I loved the research. I loved all of that. Sitting down and writing that story, I'd rather go to the dentist. And I always was like the reporter getting my stuff in late.
Yeah.
And then fast forward throughout my career, I don't know how many bosses told me I should go take a writing course because I'm so bad at it. They
Oh
couldn't
my
believe
goodness.
I went to journal. And so when I really let go that I'm not a writer, and if I ever and when I have team, guess the number one content personality type I hire is written, because that
Mm,
is my most major weakness. So if I can let go of writing and just let myself embrace live in person. I try not to get in long email conversations with people. I'll be like, "Hey, here's my Zoom link. I'm here for the next 2 hours. I'm just gonna open the window. Come join me."
yeah.
Because I know if I sit here and write, one, it's gonna take me forever. Two, I'm never gonna be able to communicate the message well. And so I double down all the time on my live in person content personality type to use when I'm doing sales, when I'm doing marketing. And it's really worked very, very well for me. And it takes some of that anxiety of, oh my gosh, I need to be doing all of these things, where you can give
Yeah.
yourself permission to let the other ones go and do what you're really, really strong at. We don't need to always improve on our weaknesses.
And I agree with that. I'm really big in strength finder, so I totally buy into that. What I do like about what you're saying is it gives us permission to
Yeah.
really simplify what we're doing. So
Yes.
instead of trying to figure out, hypothetically, right, the Instagram algorithm going, okay, I need a carousel, a
Mhm.
post, a reel. Then
Right.
I need, like, this is the order, how much. If you're, what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like, hey, if you're really live and in person
Yeah.
and you like going live, like, go live,
You're
create
right.
a reel, put that
Fast.
on,
Yeah.
do a video like this and chop it up into snippets
Yep.
and use that content instead of trying to write that long
Right.
form post
Exactly.
if that's not your forte, right?
Right.
So it really simplifies it for us.
It really, really does. And again, there's over 150 ways you can market. Once you figure out your content personality type, we usually boil it down to 20 to 30 ways. Choosing from 20 to 30 instead of 150 makes it way less cumbersome,
Yes. Yes,
way less
definitely.
overwhelming.
I can't wait to hear, like digging, because I did get the
Yep.
email, in full
Yep.
disclosure,
So
I
you're
took the quiz
gonna take
right before.
you'll get the guide. So each content personality type we have a guide for. So you're gonna get your own guide. You can work through it. And if anybody does have questions or they're like, I really what? I always will schedule a call with anybody who has questions
Yeah,
about their content personality type because it's such a different way of thinking. It's not how we were told to do marketing. It's not how we were told to really operate as humans. We're supposed to make our weaknesses better. You're supposed to want to always improve on your weaknesses. I say screw it. Let your weaknesses be
right?
weaknesses. And how do we 10% better your strength?
Yes, I love that. I'm all about that all day long. I love that idea. I do. I really think that, like, I'm listening to you and I'm like, I really need to redo my content instead of, like, I need to do this and add more of those lives and do lives.
Yeah.
And there is something coming. I don't know when we are going to schedule this podcast, but
Okay.
it may be announced. I won't announce it just in case, but there is something super cool coming up. Um, so you're gonna have to check it out. Check out the website,
Stay
check out
tuned.
social. That's gonna be coming up that fits this content personality type to a T. And that's
Love
all
it.
I'm gonna say.
Love it. Love it.
Yes. So what made you guys, because this is trademark, this is yours, correct?
Mhm. Yes,
So
yes.
what made you decide to create this? Because it can't be easy to sit down and create this
It
quiz and the
it was not, and again, I can't take any credit for the creation of it, really, it was all Shannon, my business partner, and so what really, triggered her to create it was she was working with she was a blog writer, and, like, would teach you how to write blogs, which is how I originally met her, but, she was with
because
this
you were a
woman.
bad writer.
Exactly. And so,
Love that. Full circle.
full circle. So she was working with this woman who had booked a weekend retreat to write her book, and you had to like leave the retreat with the book written. This woman was in tears because she's like, "This is the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm not scared about writing my book. I don't want to like be locked in a room writing all day." And it really, Shannon said she laid awake for days trying to figure out what would be a better way for this woman to create her book. And so she started to use some of her psychology background and she was a biologist as well in her master's program. So she started to use all of this to develop this quiz. Had the woman take it, the woman was live in person. So she's like, all right, make sure you take somebody with you and they're in the room with you and you have a conversation as you're writing out your book. And maybe they could even type for you. Hire somebody to be in that room with you. Don't do it alone. So this is what the woman did, and she got her book done. She
You're
got it done
kidding
in the
me.
weekend. She made someone come and be in the room with her, talked through the entire thing, and like I said, Shannon thought she was written for years and ignored her own quiz. But when she
Yeah.
really switched and listened to it and tapped into that live in person content personality type, it was really a game changer. But it was hearing people over and over say, I don't want to write. I don't want, well, there was no going live back then. Like the
Yeah.
quiz started out on paper. So it's as
Yeah.
long as the internet, I think at this point. I don't want to go to another networking event. I don't want to pick up the phone and call people. It was hearing all those I don't wannas and trying to figure out, well, why don't you wanna? And what do you want to do? And what best way should you be doing these things? So
Yeah.
I think the leading with curiosity and question paid off big time in this one.
I love that because I have been talking about writing a book for as long as I can remember,
Oh,
and my husband actually jokes, he's like, "How's that book coming?" And
yeah.
I would come in my office. Now I'm in my office all the time, I'm working, I'm productive, and I'm like, "Fine, I'm gonna start going into my office at night for
Right.
15, 20 minutes and write," and I stare at my screen and think about everything else other than this book.
Anything else you could be doing but writing that book?
Anything else.
Yes, 100%,
I'm like,
100%.
"Okay, so you just answered my question. Maybe I
There you
just
go.
need to record and talk because I could do that
Yeah,
all day long." And I
yeah,
love that. So it does. It's not just in business. Obviously, it it relates to business and how to
right.
simplify it, but it also applies to your life and other tasks that
So
you may
true.
want to get done.
So true. It's so true. How can you use your content personality type to get this
Yes.
done? Best question ever.
I love it. I love it. So if you guys are listening and you want to take this, I encourage you take it. This is an awesome quiz. I did get the first email and it is packed with information. So I need
Awesome.
to dig into it and I can't wait to dig into it, but it's
Love it.
so much information. And it is free, correct, to take
Oh,
this
it's
quiz?
100% free. Yep. If you Google content personality quiz, it's going to show up. You can go to joyfulbusinessrevolution.com/quiz. It will show up there. I'm also on Facebook, Amy Hager, AMY, Hager, Hager. DM me and be like, where's the link to that quiz? Happy to give it to you.
I love it. I love it. And it will be in the show notes. You can
Yes.
access Amy from and the website from the show notes and or if you're on the blog, just scroll down to the bottom. You'll be able to see it. Amy, thank you so much
Thank
for coming on
you.
today. I learned
Fun.
so much and you've got I'm over here going, "Okay, what do I do next? I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to dig into it." So,
Good.
thank
I
you for
love it.
coming on. I appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
All right, everybody. We will catch you next week. We'll see ya.